It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. In sticking with the leadership theme, I thought it'd be fun to continue on and talk about some of the challenges or pitfalls of using Agile principles as a team leader to help try to guide your teams. Now, we all know that if you're using some of the basics and foundational principles of Agile, that it should be a good way for you to make sure that you are guiding the team in the correct direction and that you're giving them the information that they need so that they can be successful. But nothing in life comes without challenges. So, what are some of the challenges that teams may face, or some of the challenges you may encounter as you try to rely on some of the very basic things to implement Agile? I'm going to come right at the gate and talk about the most important one first: resistance to change. The truth is, some of your team members, customers, or stakeholders are going to be reluctant or resistant to adopt Agile because they feel like what we've been doing for so long has been working. Why do we need to change now? Or I'm familiar with what we've been doing. Why would I want to give up something I'm familiar with for something that's an unknown? Or maybe they just prefer straight up traditional ways of working. I mean, they might like following that waterfall. Everything has been documented up front. We have a clear contract in place. We have a plan for the next 5 years. But the one that I find most common is leaders feel like when they go to Agile that they lose control, authority, or stability. And that the Agile environment is not conducive to gain those back. And that's not true, but I hear it all the time. So the question becomes, how do we get a good balance, and how do we get people to understand that this may not always be the case, that you can still involve everyone necessary in the Agile framework and make them feel valued and respected, and that you can listen to the fears regarding change, and that you can take advantage of those opportunities to reflect and figure out ways to help teams and leaders in the organization figure out that change isn't always a bad thing. What were the words of the song? A change can do you good, right? So there's lots of opportunities that come along with change. Okay, so let's talk about number two. Number two is lack of clarity. So some of your team members, customers, or stakeholders may be confused or uncertain about the scope, goals, requirements, or expectations for the project. If this was a traditional project, we would have had all that clearly defined up front and a scope document that no one would have ever read. Right? They may also have different or conflicting views or opinions about what the project's about, why we're doing it, who the target audience is, and what should be entailed. To avoid this confusion, you should define and communicate a clear vision and strategy with some key objectives regarding what you're trying to do for the project early. And you should be consistent and consistently align with those unless there's some dramatic change that cause you not to. You also need to establish and maintain a shared understanding and alignment about all parties in the project, about what our goal is, what we're trying to do, and make sure everyone's clear on the North Star and on how our vision and strategy map towards that North Star. And I think that if we do that, that'll provide the teams the clarity they need to be successful. Okay, only two more to go. The next one involves technical debt. So many organizations accrue technical debt at a rate that's absolutely ridiculous. And technical debt doesn't always just mean bad code. I want to make sure, or a history of bugs or a series of defects. It's a combination of many things. If you have not had an opportunity to review the 7 deadly sins of technical debt, I encourage you to go out and review that now, because there's just so much out there regarding what debt is, how debt looks. And technical debt is literally the cost of rework caused by poor quality, poor design, whatever you see there. And it affects performance, reliability, security, usability. It affects a whole bunch of different things. And I think that if you pay attention to how you're going to get to excellence in whatever product or service you're building, that's going to help you reduce the scope of that debt. The other thing is, if you do have the debt, to make sure you have a good plan on how you're going to reduce or eliminate that debt, and make sure you're not just trying to allocate a small amount of time each sprint to it, because you'll never get it done if you do. The interest will far outrun the payments that you're making towards it. Okay. And finally, unrealistic expectations. Some of your customers and stakeholders are going to have unrealistic expectations about the outcomes of the project or some of the deliverables intertwined inside. So you need to be clear and transparent and make sure that if they're expecting too much from the team, that you express it. If you know that something's going to be late in a project, you need to express it. Managing this challenge is easy. You're just setting realistic, clear, and achievable goals, and you're helping by placing milestones in the project to help the leadership team and everyone else understand that we are moving forward and that we are making progress, even though they don't see this huge big bang product or project at the end. That every decision to make incrementally is going to help flex the scope or scale or how the product or service is being done, so that they can have ultimate success with clearly happy customers and stakeholders, as opposed to following a document and hoping for the best. Well, that's going to do it. Keep it short and sweet today. If you have a topic of interest or something you want to discuss, feel free to reach out to us. Learn more at agiledad.com. We would love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.